Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to another episode of Dark Anthropology. Mwah. A lot of you said you liked the spooky intro. I figured I'd go with it. If you watched the last Amberlynn Reed react that I did, I want to say 2 days ago now. Maybe it was yesterday. It was yesterday, sorry, but it doesn't matter. If you watched the last one, you would have gotten a 15-minute intro about the idea that I want to start working on, which is dark anthropology. Now, if you know anything about dark psychology, where it's the study of manipulation and manipulators, dark anthropology is going to kind of do the same thing, only we're going to be doing it anthropologically. And to do that, we're going to be looking at Amberlynn Reed first, probably predominantly, only because after watching the Casey interview with Mr. Snowflake, and I imagine if he ever drops the crystal one, it's going to be pretty, not interview, but like the crystal victims of an empath video that he's working on. I just imagine things are going to be really interesting, to say the least. I wanted to start looking at Amber through a darker lens, and I want to be looking at her anthropologically as much as humanly possible. And before we go any further with that, I do need to put some caveats out there. We are not diagnosing Amber with anything. If you watch my videos, you know my stances on that. Everything, honestly, is going to be my opinion because it's an opinion. But I will be looking at things through the lens of anthropology because that's what I do. I'm a trained anthropologist, and also the idea of the words dark anthropology are not necessarily mine. I did not create that idea. There's at least one other paper that I am reading through right now. However, the paper doesn't itself deal with dark anthropology as much as it's dealing with the anthropology of good, and therefore has like the dark side to as a compromise. I need to get all the way through the paper. I might analyze it for you guys. I don't know how much you guys would care. Uh, but anyway, I am reading that paper. It's pretty much the only one I can find right now, but that doesn't mean there isn't more out there. I just haven't dug deep enough yet. So, right now, dark anthropology is totally my wheelhouse, you guys. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be other people out there who I can reference and who have done professional work with it, as opposed to me analyzing Amberlynn Reed on YouTube, which is fun. It's fun. This is the way I can make Amber fun again, because after the Mr. Snowflake interview with Casey and the Victims of an Empath episode, Amber's not fun anymore. Amber's just, I don't think people get how scary she is. Like I get comments. I know some of you do. I do. I know some of you do. And I know a lot of you watching the channel, my channel specifically, get it. But I do kind of get comments every once in a while where it's just kind of like people still think she's stupid. Um she's not. That's just the thing, you guys. She's not stupid. She's an incredibly successful long-term manipulator. You can't be stupid and do that. I mean, look at Foodie Beauty. She's a perfect example of what it looks like when you're not bright, but you're still trying to be a manipulator. She's constantly getting called out. She rages, she loses control, she has to take videos and stuff down because she's trying to curate an image that is long past her control on the internet. Amber, on the other hand, has only ever deleted a handful of videos. Amber doesn't feel the need to long term curate her image because Amber is very successful at burying it. And I know everybody's gonna be like, but the Mr. Snowflake stuff and the this and the that, and there's been other people who have done other deep dives into Amber. Sure, I understand that, but this is the longest Amber's ever been without a girlfriend, and she's not without a caretaker. I mean, I know we all kind of have like a softish spot for Mama Lynn, but Mama Lynn's the new caretaker, whether we want to agree with that or not. Who drives Amber around? Who comes over and cooks for Amber? Who's been taking Amber out to socialize? You know, Sure, she's not walking the dog. Sure, she's not wiping Amber's ass, as far as we know. It's sure she's not doing those particular steps, but she's doing everything else, and that's a caretaker. In the last Amber episode that I did, I was almost called it the first episode of this. It's not the first episode. This is the first episode. I wanted to outline things that I'm going to be focusing on. Now, these topics will shift, they'll develop over time. So, this is not like written in stone in any way, shape, or form. These are just things that initially I want to kind of go over and just kind of like set the groundwork with. And anthropology, I know I've done another video on that and I might link it, is the study of human culture, human behavior, that kind of thing. Anthro, human. Apology, study. The word is literally the study of humans. Anyway, things I want to focus on with the dark anthropology. I have notes. That's why I'm looking off to the side, as if I really need to explain that, but here we are. Because we're looking at the darker side of anthropology, so we're looking at bad behavior, we're looking at manipulation, we're looking at we're looking at topics that fall into that category. If that's not your thing, now's your chance to turn away. We will be talking about not being nice to each other while in a relationship with one another. And other words I'm not allowed to say on YouTube, apparently. I haven't gotten hit with anything from YouTube yet over my language within the YouTube. I have gotten a copyright hit for TLC. And I did get a copyright hit on a Glitter and Lasers episode. Glitter and Lasers video, so that was kind of funny. Anyway, because we're looking at the darker side, we're going to be looking beyond the surface level interactions that Amber has in general with her audience, and right now with her audience, because there are no other side characters, but we will be looking at stuff from the past as well. And so at that point, we'll be looking deeper than the surface level interactions that Amber's having with the people around her. And we're not just looking at Amber. We will be looking at the other people in the Amberverse who are interacting with Amber, and we will also be looking at the audience, ourselves. We will be holding up a mirror, and we will be looking at ourselves. And ourselves, the audience, includes things like Hater Nation. It includes things like the Am Babies, do they exist? Do Am Babies actually exist? I see people every once in a while are like, why are you so mean? But then they usually go away because they watch more than one episode ever and they're like, oh, I get it. We'll be looking at the dynamics between Amber and her audience and just that feedback loop that I've talked about before. The parasocial relationship that Amber has with her audience and that her audience inevitably builds with her, because that's just how this shit works. And we will be looking at the imaginary audience that Amber has as well. So there is that. Now, because I don't want to spend too long doing this, let's just jump in. So the concept of dark anthropology does come from the concept of dark psychology, dark psychology. I don't know if it's a legitimate subfield of psychology. I am not a psychologist. But the concept is out there and a lot of people are familiar with it. And the idea is to look at the darker aspects of the psyche. And so with anthropology, we'll be looking at the darker aspects of humanity and human culture. We're not going to get graphic because I don't like that kind of crap. However, Amber has been known to manipulate a situation. She's been known to be, abusive. I'm trying to find other words, but whatever. She's been known to kind of like Stockholm syndrome her exes. She's also been known to isolate her exes and then gaslight her exes. Now, all of these things should be red flags. If you're in a relationship like that, please do not put up with it. But once you start seeing the dominoes set up, it's easy to watch how they fall. We will probably spend the majority of our time when we're talking about Amber's particular relationship manipulation tactics, we'll spend a lot of time with the Baxters because I posit that that is where Amber's skill set was at its peak. We didn't really get to see a whole lot with Wifey, one-on-one time with Wifey for various reasons, but because of that, we didn't really get to see day-to-day interactions between Wifey and Amber, so we don't know exactly how much manipulation was going on during that relationship, manipulation and control. So that one's kind of difficult to get too deep into. We really only have kind of a one-sided view of it. However, that one side is also valuable because, again, it's Amber at that point, and continues to have complete control over the conversation, over the narrative of that relationship with her and Wifey. So, coming back around, we're going to be looking at the cultural reflection of Amber's personal struggles. Amber's always trying to connect with her audience because Amber wants to be perceived as this empathic, altruistic, I call her like the older cousin, big sister kind of thing. She wants to be the one who's worldly and experienced, and she wants to be the one giving us, the audience, advice on how to live our lives or how to negotiate or navigate life and that kind of thing. She's always trying to do that, and you'll see it happen. We usually see it happen after she's been on a diet for like 20 minutes and she's suddenly an expert on whatever diet it is she's taking, and she's telling us how great it is and how much she loves it, and then like 24 hours later she's off of it because reasons. But we see it the most when that's happening, with her trying to impress upon us how great this is and how it would benefit us, the audience. The other times we really see this is when she's doing her Q&As, which she does a lot of, and part of that is because she needs content and she's not great at just generating content. The other side of that is, and I mention this every time we do it, is she's feeding her id. She's feeding the id part of her ego. And Amber loves to talk about herself, especially if she can talk about herself in a way that shows herself off as being knowledgeable about something. So she loves to be asked questions about relationships or about her struggles with weight loss or just her life stories. She loves to be asked questions about that because that's her moment to shine. We're going to be looking at the dynamics of online shaming, and the word is dynamics of online shaming and empathy. Mainly because Amber's always trying to invoke the sense of empathy from her audience, or she's trying to convince us that she herself is empathic. Amber's a mimic. So I suppose she's a empath in that she is mimicking what she thinks empathy should look like, but pretty much every time misses the mark by several miles. So, at least in my opinion. But we do see a lot of online shaming when it comes to Amber interacting with her audience. Not just Amber's audience shaming Amber, which does happen quite frequently, but, those Lecturelyn moments where she takes us into the bathroom and props us up against the mirror and starts fussing with her hair. And while she's fussing with her hair, she's lecturing us about how awful we are and how horrible we are to her and how much we hurt her through our behavior online towards her. All right. That is Amber shaming her audience. So yeah, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry, hang on. So that's the dynamics of online shaming between Amber and her audience, and Amber's audience and Amber. But it's also part of the parasocial relationship that exists between Amber and her audience. Amber has like a reverse parasocial relationship. A traditional parasocial relationship is the audience itself developing some kind of relationship with the influencer, a relationship that's not there. Like, so and so and I are besties because I watch every episode of their show. So I know them inside and out, and we're the bestest of friends and that kind of thing. That's usually the kind of parasocial relationship that we're talking about. Or like a really great example comes out of the fat acceptance community when, well, right now, even Lizzo has apparently lost weight, you guys. Holy crap. And so all of the little fat acceptance girlies who are hanging their identity on Lizzo are absolutely crushed right now because Lizzo's lost weight. And somehow that parasocial relationship between the fat acceptance girls and Lizzo, which doesn't exist, that relationship affects them in a way that they see Lizzo's weight loss as an attack upon them individually, as opposed to Lizzo's just lost weight. Probably because Lizzo ain't young anymore and dancing for 2 hours, 2.5 hours on stage every night is probably starting to hurt, you know? Anyway, we will definitely be delving into quite a bit of the manipulation of the narrative for viewer engagement. Amber has to be in control of her narrative, which is understandable, honestly. Step a couple steps back and just kind of look at any influencer on here. I'm not an influencer, but I am a talking head on YouTube. We all curate our personas online. We have an image that we want to project forward, and that's the image that we focus on, and that's the narrative that we try to stick to. I hope that makes sense to everybody. You all do the same thing. It just depends on where in your life you are. You have a different image that you project when you're at work than when you're out with your family, especially extended family. You know, you're not going to act the same way when you're out with your significant other's mother and father than you're going to act when you're out with your two best friends on your weekly night out or whatever. I just assume people socialize. I don't, but I assume it happens in the real world. But that's kind of the situation. When we get to like Amber and other people like her, the need for control of the narrative is so strong that mistakes are made. And when those mistakes are made, instead of adjusting the narrative or, just acknowledging the mistake, Amber will tend to double down. Or another thing that I've noticed that she does, which is actually kind of ingenious. I know it infuriates people, but it works. She just kind of like, these are not the things you are looking for, and then just moves on like it never happened. She did this with the Casey interview. She addressed it for like a full 3 minutes out of a video, and she was just like, this is not the reaction you are looking for. And then we've never talked about it again since. And she's not going to. So there's that. Are we, the audience, going to continue to talk about it? Yes. Is Amber? No. But that's Amber controlling the narrative. If she refuses to engage in it, it can't happen. We can talk about it all we want. We can't talk about it with Amber. And Amber's not going to talk about it with us. So I hope that made sense there. I'm looking at my notes because I are a professional. We're also going to be looking at power dynamics in viewer-creator relationships. I know I just went on this big tirade about the parasocial relationship. Power dynamics in a viewer-creator relationship. When you think of power dynamics, you think of like superpower plays, like your college advisor and one of his students, kind of a power play. Or like you think of like a teacher-student relationship, or you think about like a boss-subordinate relationship, or that kind of a thing. Like, my employee, I am the boss. I have control over my employee. Control. I have influence over my employees, and I can use it in a variety of different ways, and hopefully I use it in the most moral and ethically correct way possible, as opposed to, hey, what are you doing Saturday night? That kind of shit. It can be that level when we look at a viewer-creator relationship, and you've all heard horror stories about this kind of a thing where someone has met a creator in real life at a convention or just in general, and they have been suggestively manipulated into a relationship with said person. I'm thinking of like Boogie and I forget the name of the girl, but she was like a cam girl, and they started dating, and he just was like, well, he's Boogie, so there you have it. But she admits that she was uh, influenced, her opinions of him were influenced because of the fact that she'd seen him online and she'd followed him online. And so she thought she had a grasp of who he was based off of his online persona. And, you know, so that's kind of the power dynamic that can happen. We can make a very strong argument that that kind of a situation happened with Amber and Becky, because by the time Becky came into the situation, Amber's brand had been very stable, has been very established. That's the word I'm looking for. Online, that's how Becky even knew Amber existed. Same kind of thing happened with Wifey. Wifey claimed she didn't know who Amber was online, but it turns out she did. Big surprise. But that kind of a relationship, though, does come with a power imbalance, especially when you factor in an age difference. But the viewer creator power dynamic can be very simple as well, which the more simple things are, the more insidious they tend to become. So this can involve understanding how Amber maintains a position of influence, which she does, and control, which she does, over her own narrative despite the public scrutiny and public criticism. Amber, despite having a very vocal, very active anti-fandom, still is able to pull people in her comment sections who are pro-Amber. I don't know if they're Am babies, maybe they are, but they definitely are encouraging. They're definitely like hopeful. Amber's not the only influencer that's able to pull that kind of stuff, though. And it's not even like a pulling of the wool over the head kind of a thing, because we all know better. Mother Goose knows better. It's just every now and then something will strike a chord, something will look hopeful. Amber will spin a story in just the right way that makes you think, oh, well, all right, maybe this time, maybe. And routinely lets us down, because that's the cycle. We will be talking about Amber's cycle too. I have been trying to like redefine and refine, so both of those words, Amber's cycle. Since she's become aware of her own cycle as it was laid out, however long ago it was now, she's aware of the cycle now, and so her behavior around the cycle has changed, and that will happen. Anytime she becomes aware of something, her behavior around it changes. And we're gonna I want to kind of like hammer out a little bit of an adjusted cycle chart, but that might take a minute or two, because mainly because I'm lazy is what that's going to boil down to, and I don't want to make a pie chart. The final thing that I really want to be looking at is the role of social media in the personal identity formation. Amber is ever evolving, and part of that is because Amber doesn't have a baseline personality, and I've said this a million times, and I will continue to say it. Amber doesn't have a baseline personality. She has no base traits. Everything that Amber has and does has been borrowed from someone else. And I mean, somewhere deep down, there's default Amber, but I don't know what that looks like because we've never seen it. And because of that, Amber's identity, which is reflected in her mannerisms, the way she speaks, the hobbies that she pulls, and just the things that she'll say, and the way that she'll look online, it's ever evolving. Right now we're going through a TikTok era where Amber is apparently now identifying with Gen Alpha, and so she's picking up all of the Gen Z and Gen Alpha lingo that's out there on the TikToks, and she's trying to be a TikTok star, and she's just using all these interesting forms of slang that has been used in the past. I will never get over how much language doesn't change. Like, the slang of 20 years ago is coming back, and it's being renewed. And the thing that kills me about it is it's being used in the same way. All right. So that's the role of social media in personal identity formation. Amber currently, since she doesn't have a partner, she is that's usually who she pulls her identity from. She usually starts pulling identity from whoever she's dating or whoever her immediate circle of friends are. She doesn't have that right now, so she's pulling her identity from podcasters that she listens to, from other vloggers that she watches, and she's pulling very heavily off of TikTok. Um, I can't nail down exactly who each trait belongs to, and I don't really know if I need to. I know she's mimicking Trisha Paytas quite a bit, and I know people are pointing out similarities between Amber and Alexandra Rodriguez, who I do not watch. She's boring, guys. How the hell do you watch her? But I am watching Glitter and Lasers, and I am starting to see some similarities there. But also, I've mentioned a few times now that Amber has been taking on some very foodie beauty-esque personality traits, especially when it comes to like her rhetoric and her form of argumentation. And I think that's always kind of been there because for whatever reason, Amber white knights for foodie constantly. There's never been a moment where Amber didn't do that. Even when foodie freaking hated her guts, Amber was still like, oh no, Foodie and I were just misunderstood. I don't know why you throw your lot in there, but that does kind of say a lot about Amber and how she identifies herself. All right. At the risk of talking in circles at this point, as we go forward and we apply dark anthropology to Amber, our focus is going to be on the deeper social, cultural, and psychological underpinnings of her interactions with her audience and with the world that she projects around herself. It's going to involve critical analysis of complex and hidden aspects of these interactions, which will dive into the darker aspects of human nature. Again, if this isn't your cup of tea, that's fine. I'm not going to be putting warnings on the front of everything. I'm just going to assume you're adults and you know how to adult. This will be the explanation, episode 1 of Dark Anthropology, and I hope it makes some sense. I hope it's not too long of a rambly kind of circular logic kind of a thing here. I hope everybody's understanding what's going on. And do we need an emoji? And if you've made it this far in the video and you like what you're hearing, go ahead and put a book emoji down in the comments section because I can't come up with anything else, to be honest with you. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any other questions, anything you would like to see me go over. I guarantee absolutely nothing, but I will at least take it into consideration. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I know this one's a shorter one. I really just wanted to kind of get an intro out there. And now we're going to go forward and we will be applying these concepts to our reactions with Amber's ongoing videos, because this is how we're going to be analyzing Amber from here on out. Will I still be snarky and salty? Yes, because that's what I do. But I will be coming back to these topics and I will be bringing this topic up as we move through reactions going forward. And I think I'm probably going to retitle things. Not the past ones, but the coming videos. I think I'm going to retitle them as Dark Anthropology, especially if I spend more than like 3 minutes talking about it during a reaction. But again, if you made it this far, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. You may as well subscribe and stick around and leave a book down in the comments section. And yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see everybody the next time Amber uploads. Bye!